Dee and Daniel here. We have new friends, Brian and Lana. They supplement our eternal friends, Hedwig and Carlo.
Hello and welcome to the Probably Bad Podcast, a podcast which is definitely bad. I'm Pencil.
I'm Paper. Today's Probably Bad RPG idea is... I want to play a tabletop RPG where my 6 stats are Gumption, Chutzpah, Moxie, Childlike Wonder, the cut of my jib, and a certain je ne sais quoi, which is an idea that I think we got tagged in it on Tumblr.
Strictly speaking, this isn't an idea from our blog, so if you do want to sue us, come at us. It was
But
originally
only if your
posted...
Tumblr user philosophy shit scribble, otherwise it's not yours either.
Yeah.
Which good URL, by the way.
It is. I think you mentioned looking up the subtle distinction between Gumption, Chutzpah, and Moxie.
Yeah,
which will be very important for this game.
Because I'm an intellectual, I realized that there is no such thing as a synonym, and that these words would have subtle distinctions. What I came up with is that Gumption is initiative, Chutzpah is confidence, and Moxie is determination.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, it is Gumption. It is initiative, confidence, and determination. Yeah, as to quote the famous video. Sorry.
It's
Right,
my
favourite
yes. Video game.
To quote the famous video game, you are filled with Moxie. I believe that's how that game goes. So, this feels like either a very artsy game where it's like, I will roll childlike wonder to enjoy a flower, or a really serious tactical game where it's like, no, you need to make sure you have exactly 3 cuts on your jib in order to unlock these feats.
What do you think the cut of someone's jib means?
Full disclaimer, I have absolutely no idea. I've only heard it as the phrase, I like the cut of your jib, and I have absolutely no idea what it means in a literal sense.
It's kind of like how someone behaves, like their demeanor.
Yeah, I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah.
Hence, why you have more
have
cuts
3
on
demeanor.
Yeah, why you have more cuts on your jib, the better your demeanor is.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like childlike wonder could maybe work as almost like insight. Like the more childlike wonder you have, the easier you are to trick.
Yeah, the higher the level is, the more childlike your wonder becomes. At low levels, you have the wonder of a 50-year-old accountant whose only hobby is those little desk toys where balls bash against each other. And then at maximum levels, you have the wonder of a baby and don't understand object permanence anymore.
I like it. So we've established now then what 5 of these 6 stats would actually transfer to in a playable game, which I'm quite enjoying. So we've got initiative, confidence, determination, naivety, demeanor, and something else.
So here's my theory, which I was thinking about. You have a stat, you don't know what it does, but as it levels up, it becomes your certain je ne sais quoi becomes more and more certain, and thus it becomes clearer what it actually does. And then at high levels, you know what your 6th stat is.
So it's almost like something that you determine through gameplay?
Yeah.
I like that. It's kind of like some parts of Fate where it's like, oh, well, I've done that a lot. I guess it's a character trait now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, it starts off as an uncertain je ne sais quoi, and then it's a certain je ne sais quoi, and then it's a definite je ne sais quoi.
Finally, it's just je sais quoi.
Yeah, it's just I say what.
That's how French works, right? I'm bad at French.
I was going to make the same joke, and then I realised I had no idea how to say it in French. So apologies to any French listeners.
I just
You
took
can,
out the negative word.
yeah, you can
You know more
follow.
French than I do.
Yeah, you can follow Tumblr user Philosophy Shit Scribble and the person who didn't like us threatening Jeff Bezos in our people whose shit list are on.
Oh yeah. So for people who listen but don't follow us on Tumblr, which I'm sure there are some of you, Pencil posted something that was like, what if you kept the guillotine from your game and used it on, I don't know, maybe Jeff Bezos, just as a suggestion? And someone decided to message us that we'd been reported to Tumblr for wishing death on Jeff Bezos.
So, just as a disclaimer, given that we are being put on like Amazon products, I in no way advocate guillotining Jeff Bezos, the man who doesn't give his employees adequate toilet breaks.
If anything, putting it on probably bad RPG ideas suggests that we anti-condone it. We condemn guillotining billionaires and redistributing their wealth.
Did you know
So-
this ironic fate is not illegal? So at least the bees.
Thanks for that contribution, Nick. I feel like this is a very social game.
Yeah, I noticed that we don't have a fighting.
I mean, that could be what your je ne sais quoi is. You don't know.
I have a certain je ne sais quoi, by which I mean a gun.
This is my sword. Je ne sais quoi. I don't know, like, low combat games are a thing and can be good.
Yeah, mostly because all combat rules are boring. Come at me. Yeah, it seems.
I personally don't hugely enjoy combat sequences.
I want to know what the difference between a situation where you roll confidence and a situation where you roll determination is.
Well, I feel like confidence is more like, I am good at this. I am right. And determination is, I'm gonna try.
I feel
Like, it's almost like confidence is for stuff that you're proficient in, and determination is for stuff where you're trying anyway, goddammit.
I like the idea of a stat. I actually do genuinely like the idea of a stat for trying your best at something you have no idea what the fuck you're doing with.
I'm now wondering, would it be detrimental to have too high of a Moxie stat? You just keep trying ridiculous stunts and you will die from it.
Yeah, Moxie is your determination, but not your competence. You roll to keep trying your incredibly stupid thing. I mean, like, we do have Childlike Wonder, which is literally just see how dumb you are.
That's true. Like, some of these are negative stats, and I support this.
But, you know, with a
More
certain
games should have a dumbass stat.
Yeah.
What is your Himbo level?
I have min-maxed my dumbass stat. I've taken all skills out of any other area of my life and put all my points into fucking up.
Pencil. What if this is a game where all the PCs are himbos?
The world, like, it's like the
You'll
sword in the
notice
stone.
there is not an intelligence stat.
Yeah. It's like the sword in the stone, except it can only be pulled out by himbos. And, like, the 6 of them work together, and they all pull out the stone, or pull out the sword, and now they're all the rightful King of England, and it's them exploring, like, the political struggles of being the King of England. Well, the Kings of England, because there's, like, 6 of them. But while
I think they
being
do
utter
pull out the
dumbasses.
stone. I think they got confused by the instructions and just picked up the whole stone and took it home with them. And everyone's just like, well, they've got the sword.
Yeah, I technically, I suppose they are carrying the sword.
This is like, I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a political game, and they have to, like, you know, negotiate all the treaties and stuff. But as mentioned, they're all dumbasses. So there's probably going to be another war with France. This is why there were so many wars with France back in the period, because Britain was ruled entirely by ruling councils of himbos. If you know any history, don't correct me. I'm right.
Have you seen pictures of the Plantagenets? Himbos are supposed to be attractive.
I feel that was a history joke. I hope those of you who know what history are got that joke.
It seems to have amused Nick, and they have a medieval studies masters. So I think I succeeded.
We're appealing to some very large demographics. But anyway.
I'm
So yeah,
calling it. This game is going to be a bonus episode. I'm going to make it happen.
Even a certain je ne sais quoi could work as your destiny.
Yes, that's why you don't know it.
Mm.
The DM assigns everyone a destiny, and they have to roll to move towards that destiny.
Yeah.
So
look, we actually made a decent game again. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, I'm just thinking about how it would work in play. Because what I'm thinking is kind of if you're just kind of hoping that this is what you're supposed to be doing, you roll your je ne sais quoi stat, and that determines whether it moves you towards your destiny or not, which could lead to some very weird results, but also we've definitely made this kind of an Arthurian game.
Yeah.
And that stuff makes no sense, so it's fine.
Yeah, like it determines whether or not Merlin shows up and slaps you or not. You can use that to figure out whether what you're doing is leading to.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a canon that contains, and then he came across a bunch of horny people and had to not be horny with them.
Which does work for a team full of himbos.
Question is, though, are the himbos unhorny enough to resist, or are they just clueless enough to not realize what's happening? Or does that depend on the childlike wonder stat?
Yeah, that childlike wonder stat, the advantage it gets is the higher it is, the less likely you are to be seduced by the roaming packs of.
Yeah, I would play this game, and I will, because we have a Patreon, Probably Bad RPG Ideas, and we do bonus episodes, and this is going to be a bonus episode. I'm going to fight anyone who tries to stop me making this happen.
So yeah, if you want to see Himbo King Arthur and his Himbo Knights of the Himbo Table, Himbo's no longer sounding like a word, and frankly, I'm not sure it was one to begin with. So we have no questions this week, I'm afraid. But what we do have is a second question. We have no questions, but what we have is questions. We have no question this week, I'm afraid, but what we do have is a second idea.
Do you want to take another run at that one?
I do a podcast and I don't know how English works. Yes, we do. We do have the fuck me.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, sorry.
So we don't have any questions this week, which, that's fine, it happens. So we've got a second idea. Each of the player characters lives in a different millennium. Time travel doesn't exist.
It's okay, so suppose it's a standard dungeon crawl. You're going into the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, so player 2 in the second millennium is like, oh no, there's a big stone wall in the way. And then player 1 has to arrange things back in the past so the big stone wall is not in the way in 1,000 years. And then the player 2 can get through. But then player 3 in the year within a third millennium needs the stone wall there. So it's essentially you have to synchronize things with people. It'd probably be easier as a video game, but we don't have a video game podcast, so we're doing it as a tabletop game.
Yeah, I think I have played a video game kind of like this. Not on the scale of millennia, but just kind of a couple of years later and then a couple of years after that. So you have to arrange things to help each other. Am I thinking of Day of the Tentacle? I think I'm thinking of Day of the Tentacle. Where
Familiar.
the characters go to different time periods and have to arrange things to help the people in other time periods to help the present. And it's very cool,
basically-
and people should play Day of the Tentacle.
Yes, but unfortunately, it is also copyrighted, so we can't really make it ourselves.
This is my original idea. It's called Night of the Limb.
After the world is taken over by sentient arm. I think the other way to do it is to have the first player from 1,000 years ago be the big bad, and they're setting up the trap that everyone else is exploring.
Mm-hmm.
And the third way is for the game to just be shit. Like, I mean, I guess it could work. Actually, no, I have an idea. So you have a game group.
Mhm.
And because it's, grown-ups, it's hard to organize a time when everyone can be around at the same time. So what you do is you do a game with one member of your game group, and it's them using their whatever powers they have to do some big exciting thing in the world. Then you do a game with the second member of the game group who's set 1,000 years later dealing with the consequence of what the first player did. You maybe would need to shorten the time from a millennium, but you get the idea. And
Yeah.
then you do a third one with a third member of your game group, which is dealing with the consequence of the last player, and so forth and so forth. Sort of like an Exquisite Corpse thing, but with RPG sessions.
If you set it in a forest, it would be an Exquisite Cops. I'll be quiet now.
Don't. It's a podcast. You're half the people on this. You to say words.
I do like this idea of doing it like that because I think what we were going from originally was the idea that they're all working on the same goal, like they are aware of each other somehow
Yeah.
and can presumably communicate against somehow probably magic. And are all working towards this goal that requires them to do things in different time periods. But the idea of more of like I think it would kind of be harder to organize an Exquisite Corpse type adventure.
Like, I know.
Just
I
because
think.
like a lot of one-on-one
Yeah.
like RPG type stuff can be, I think, harder because there's just one player. You can't just let them do stuff while you figure stuff out.
Yeah, I think it would be easier to arrange times. It would be quite. Yeah, you need to make sure that you had a very good plan for each episode. Yeah, it could. I guess you could do it with small groups. But then that question how big your game group is. But yeah, I think it would be difficult because you do have the problem that you would need to not just have your one player sit around while you do what I'm doing and try and remember what words are. But yeah, I think there's definitely a workable idea.
Have we finally found an idea where we don't end with, and that's an RPG that we would play?
I feel like, okay, here's what I would do. I think that if you have suggestions from the other player, that can, or because I think the other players might want to see what the effects of their effect on the world are, even if they can't directly go, "No, you're wrong. I'm coming back from the dead to stab you." But it's fantasy. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. Is the issue I'm having here because there is an RPG idea in my head, but I don't know how to make it work. Ooh, actually, no. If rather than having a big RPG, it's relatively short ones with each player, that might be easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where it's like you've got maybe a week in world to do as much as you can.
Yeah. And then it's like, maybe if it's like, okay, you pick your character, okay, your character's a great general, this is the story of their final battle, and you determine how that goes and what happens.
Yeah, I like that. And then sort of the next person. It's almost like you've got one person playing the Silmarillion, one person playing the Hobbit, and one person playing Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It is exactly like that. You describe every single thing in incredible detail and create 2 new languages.
Only 2?
Like, you're only starting out, you're not Jake. You're not Tolkien yet.
Give it time. Yeah, I do think that would be it would be an interesting thing to do, but I'm genuinely not sure how fun it would be beyond to a very specific kind of player, by which I mean the kind of player that I hate who wants to be the protagonist all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be one of those ridiculous indie games. Sorry, that was slightly insulting. It's obviously going to be one of those very niche indie games. But, there's people who are into very niche indie games.
Yeah.
It does seem like the main appeal would be towards someone who's like, I like RPGs, but what I don't like is other people in my RPG. Because I guess it'll at least, get them on their own somewhere else. You are a great general, and also you are half demon and half angel and half dragon and have 2 cool swords, and your backstory is that you are secretly the king and also history's greatest wizard.
I really thought you were going to say lover,
You're
but
also
probably
that.
also that.
Yeah, you are also history's
I
greatest
like
lover.
this. I like it. This is a game for removing problem players from the ecosystem.
You can just sit
Just
here
putting
and
them in a
roleplay
little
yourself.
box where they can play their own game.
I actually do like the idea of like this game as just like okay, just release your instincts and just play the biggest Mary Sue self-insert character possible. This is my character, Pod Menthal, who is incredibly like attractive and powerful and clever, and everybody loves them. And they have the
I believe we
ability to
invented
shoot
Mary
people
Sue
with their
Jail.
podcast lasers. Bad and naughty players go to Mary Sue jail to atone for their crimes. But yeah, no, it is just like it actually would work for that because you could just make your character as ridiculously powerful as you like because it's not like there's anyone else here you'll be competing for evidence, competing for presence for.
Yeah, like I'm reiterating my point that it would be absolute hell to DM, especially if it is Mary Sue Jail.
I mean, like
But
I
it,
feel
it
like
would be interesting to like read about on Reddit.
like I don't know because I think the main problem with like those kind of players is that they draw attention away from other characters. So if there's no other characters for them to draw attention away from, then like that's most of the problem dealt with. The only real problem would be if the character was, law breaking, sword lover man, like they're like a half again as tall as a normal person. So, but like I feel there's definitely like because I think there's definitely like some kind of allow me to just reset my brain.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of the problems would be taken away if it's no longer in an environment where it's competing with other players. And then it's just a case of like, you get to spend however long building a legend, and then the next player is like, I'm going to deal with the consequences of this legend, and probably the fact you fucked everything up.
I like it. I also like that you could potentially be like, because sometimes players just end up altering lore
Yeah,
with roles.
yeah.
I like the idea that you have this big powerful character in the first one, and then in the second one, it's like, well, actually, that's all a lie.
Like, I definitely the idea of like it either is all I or just like, yeah, in actuality you were this like rainbow shooting Sailor Princess Hulk. But
Did you say Sailor Princess Hulk?
yeah,
I'd watch that.
yeah. I was just thinking of franchises, but and then it's remembered like 10. It's remembered like 100 years later. Oh yes, this humble and quiet man who solved problems with the power of pacifism. In between sessions, you roll to see how well people remembered what really happened. Like on a 1, they got it pretty much exactly correct. On a 10, everyone believes that you were a particularly like creative beagle.
Is that not better in a way?
I mean, I'm not saying whether it's better or worse. It's just a matter of how accurate they
I'm saying that a particularly creative beagle is a more interesting character than a half dragon, half angel, half whatever the other thing was.
Like in this world, everyone is under a curse, so that as soon as someone dies, all their memories alter, so they remember them as a particularly creative beagle.
So,
Um,
thank you for listening to our nonsense once again. Yes, I mentioned the Patreon. If you have a question, you can email probablybadpodcast@gmail.com or message us at probablybadrpgideas on Tumblr. If you want to support us in a way that gets you more tangible stuff than Patreon, we are on Redbubble. I keep forgetting to mention this. We're on Redbubble as Probably Bad. You can get a design with Dee and Daniel on it, and also some good stuff. So yeah, thank you, and
Just have a
remember to have
probably
a
bad
probably bad day.